I grew up as a Unitarian Universalist at a time when UU churches were decidedly humanist. My parents are academics, and we never really spoke of God or the mysteries of the universe. My current job is in research. I look at numbers all day, summarizing them, plotting them, evaluating them. I'm wired to critically analyze information received by my senses, and I find it more natural to look towards humans to solve problems rather than to something divine or supernatural. And yet, there are evenings looking at the stars with friends, imagining what might be out there, admiring the vastness of the sky. There's the deep peace found while walking through a snowy grove of trees. There are books that engage the imagination, hinting at something more, suggesting that just around the corner there is something else, unseen. A part of me yearns for that too. The unknowable, the mystery, the possibilities. I think it provides me hope, however strange or contradictory that may be. Let us light the chalice this morning with these words by Jennifer Leota Gray. Universal mystery, guide us away from the desire to shine light in all the corners. Teach us to embrace the night, for without the darkness, we never see the stars. Take this sunset, I said to myself. There's no soul in it. It's just something that clouds do to a source of light. And what are clouds? They are nothing but moisture suspended in the Earth's atmosphere. And what is this sea that reflects the sunset? It is just a great waste of waters, bleak and desolate. Not one thing that composes this sunset is aware of the sunset. Not even the sun, for the sun is nothing but a ball of fire. And my eyes that see all this, what are they but water and dust, briefly blended for the short space of a human lifetime, so that this insignificant blob of protoplasm that I call myself may see something that isn't altogether there. But isn't it altogether there, I immediately asked myself? If I am not seeing this sunset with my eyes alone, I am seeing it with a sense of wonder and joy of beauty. And the solace of it is slowly pervading me, even while I stand and look. I am seeing it with what I can only call my soul. If I do not call it that, I cannot call it anything, yet there it is. I cannot define it. No, but this sunset as a thing of beauty is definitely real. Indeed, the sunset is not only in the sky, it is in my soul. Days pass when I forget the mystery. Problems insoluble and problems offering their own ignored solutions jostle for my attention. They crowd its antechamber along with a host of diversions, my courtiers wearing their colored clothes, cap and bells. And then once more, the quiet mystery is present to me. The throng's clamor recedes. The mystery that there is anything at all, let alone cosmos, joy, memory, everything rather than void. And that, O Lord, Creator, Hallowed One, you still, hour by hour, sustain it.
For a few weeks of her language development, one of my daughters, who will remain anonymous now as they're getting older and a bit more aware of when their father talks about them in public, one of my daughters, don't know which one, would answer every question with, "I don't know." It almost felt like an instinctual response, an immediate reaction to the inflection of a question. And then she would almost as immediately answer the question. It wasn't as if she didn't know the answers, but she assumed the correct way to answer was to always begin with, "I don't know." "What's your favorite color?" "I don't know, blue." "What will you be for Halloween?" "I don't know, a monster." "What do you want for breakfast?" "I don't know, toast." And sometimes it was slightly tempting to play with the language. "Who's your papa?" "I don't know you." "You don't know me?" I often fail at appropriate and kind parenting, but I'm working on it. But it didn't take me too long to realize that she was teaching me. Intentional or not, if it was simple language development or an attunement of the Spirit, she was my spiritual teacher in those weeks. Always begin your answers with, "I don't know." This has been a central philosophical, spiritual, religious teaching across millennia, across culture, across tradition, that wisdom begins in humility. In particular, it reminded me of the Zen Buddhist teaching of beginner's mind. Original mind does not mean a closed mind, wrote Buddhist Zen teacher Shunryu Suzuki, but an empty and ready mind. Because if your mind, he writes, in meditation is empty, then it's ready for anything. It is open to everything. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few. What if we began our answers, our ways of knowing, our opinions, our perspectives with the spirit first of, "I don't know"? Because in fact, for me at least, I don't know about you, but there are times when I am completely certain that I do not know something. And I wonder when the other times in my life when I'm pretty certain I am sure of something, absolutely convinced of it. Perhaps I should soften that sword of certainty and imagine that there are many possibilities, many stories, many ways of understanding something or experiencing something or expressing something. Ours is a tradition in Unitarian Universalism, but also liberal religion more generally, that is steeped in critical study, scientific reasoning, factual literary study of religious text, which is good. At times, however, our tradition has been guilty of what we accuse others of doing, misusing and misinterpreting texts or traditions as something they were never intended to be used as. In the pursuit of factual information only, almost this idolatry of the Western intellectual tradition, that if we can just think hard enough, we can figure everything out. We will solve every mystery. We cast away religious texts and traditions and ideas as something foolish, something ridiculous, something ludicrous. And in the same way as fundamentalists cast those texts and teachings about God and Jesus, sin, salvation, heaven, and hell as literal, we cast them first as literal and then as wrong. So maybe you've heard this recast hymn for stodgy Unitarians. It goes like this. God rest ye Unitarians, let nothing you dismay. Remember there's no evidence there was a Christmas day. When Christ was born is just not known, no matter what they say. Oh, glad tidings of reason and fact, reason and fact. Then the next one, it's even worse. There was no star at Bethlehem, there was no angel's song. There could have been no wise men, for the journey was too long. The stories in the Bible are historically wrong. Oh, glad tidings of reason and fact. Nothing like some stodgy Unitarians to damper the holiday spirit. God. So, of course, some of that is factually true. I mean, I'll give it that, but good Lord. In beginner's mind, which is filled with possibility, what if the stories weren't written to be factually true? What if that wasn't their point at all? Because they weren't. I remember my grandmother, this kind of classic Lutheran, when I was in early college religion classes, having my mind blown about historical study of biblical texts and literary culture, I asked her in, I'm sure not my most polite way with my newly found zeal of destroying biblical stories. It's like, Grandma, do you think Noah's Ark really happened? And she responded with clarity and grace and humility, unfazed by the question, probably not. And for me, I don't think that changes what the story means or can teach us about what it means to be human or in community. Mind blown again. These teachers of mine, decades younger and decades older, continue to guide me, make me think a little different, but perhaps more importantly, make me feel a little different. Because the fact is that so much religion and spirituality, ancient scriptures and stories and teachings were never meant to be either literal or useless. They were written as poetry. They were written as metaphor. They were written as family stories with ridiculous tall tales around song and possibility to illuminate the truth of what it means to be human, to tell stories about what it means to live in community, to offer some glimpse, however artful and whimsical and illusionary, to lift hearts out of the mundane and into the magical, and realize that it's sometimes the mystery, the unknown, the purposely illusionary that helps us learn how to live and how to be together. It's also true, as a caveat, that many of those teachings and stories and texts were passed down or interpreted or used in harmful, power-seeking, oppressive ways, but we need not cede religion to those who corrupted it. These stories and the beauty and the art that is still there are waiting with truths about humility and awe and wonder that we can still learn from. Take the sunset, wrote A. Powell Davies, prominent Unitarian minister and writer in the early 1900s. I cannot define it, but experiencing the sunset, he said, as something of beauty is real, and it lives in my soul. It was a theologian's way of saying something that scientists have said for quite some time too, from Carl Sagan to Rachel Carson, Neil deGrasse Tyson, that we are made of the stars. We are stardust brought to life. We don't just live in the universe, it lives in us. Centuries ago, in fact, millennia ago, people and cultures and traditions have been pointing to a truth about beauty and love and wonder and mystery, that it is not something to be scared of, but something that can open our minds and our hearts to the possibilities of both knowing and not knowing at the same time. To name and know the factual realities of the sunset, it was good to learn that the earth is not the center of the universe. That was a factual thing we needed to learn. And yet, as Beth said in her chalice lighting, to name and know that sun as beautiful, and to know what it feels like to experience beauty, it's hard to quantify that. Now hold your horses. I know that some of you are in the medical community and know that there are ways to quantify certain things, experiences of endorphins released and chemical reactions in the brain when experiencing a sense of euphoria, and in fact, that is beautiful study too. And yet I still believe that I don't know why I find some things beautiful. I can't quantify what it means in my life to be able to experience love and beauty and hope. So I need them both. Some days I forget the mystery, writes Denise Levertov, but it comes back to me. The mystery that there is anything at all, she writes. There is mystery and beauty in the fact that there is anything at all, and that we can experience that we can experience breath and life and community, that this beauty is sustained sometimes by our choices, our intentions to make something joyful and beautiful and creative, and sometimes by something beyond us, what Levertov calls the Creator or Holy One, whatever name you give it. Love, God, Spirit, energy, something sustaining beauty. When it stops us in our tracks at something that takes our breath away, makes our hearts melt in wonder and awe at the beauty of simple things like the sun and the stars, this moment, this breath, the love shared between family or friends, compassion shared by a stranger or to a stranger, the way the sunlight cascades across a room, lighting up the ordinary with everyday sacred light. I don't know about your family, but we have good intention, especially at this time of December, about watching a whole pile of favorite holiday movies that we normally don't get around to seeing all of them. But one of my favorite lines is from Miracle on 34th Street, one of the classic editions, arguing about facts and Santa. And the lawyer argues, someday you'll find out it's the intangibles in life that make anything worthwhile at all. At its best, science and religion, poetry, art, facts, fiction can point in a common direction to illuminate a life of wholeness and fullness and beauty, wonder, awe, and mystery, and reason and knowing all wrapped up together. It's that balance that helps you make space in your life to make sense of it all, to gather all the data you can, to know what you can know, and sometimes, and this is the hardest thing, to know what you can't know. To gather as much courage as you can and then face the fear of not being able to control everything, not being able to understand everything or answer everything. That is painful and hard, but sometimes that is a gift that lightens the burden of what you are supposed to hold or know or do. It reminds you that the things that make life worth living are what make you feel connected to the roots of the earth and the stars of the heavens and to each other and to this moment, and to know what you know and to know what you can't know. It's like the experience of wonder and awe at the sound of harmony or music, or the response of joy or acclamation to something that is beautiful or fun or creative or ridiculous that makes you laugh, a deep belly laugh. It is the depth of gratitude or compassion that shows up in the face of grief or despair or hopelessness, and how people show up and remind us that love still exists and holds us. There is miracle and mystery when we move beyond our own instincts of self-preservation toward other instincts of communal preservation and health and well-being, beyond our own egos and toward others. There is mystery and miracle in that. And often I can't explain how and why people go beyond their own interests to care for others. But it happens all the time. Mystery is another way to describe the unknown source within or beyond us that makes us experience love, beauty, hope, belonging, because that's what art is made of. It's what poetry is made of. It's what music is made of. It's what story and song and religion and spirit and laughter and tears and hope is made of. It's what you and I are made of. Someone was talking after the 9 o'clock service about there are moments in their life that take their breath away, and they can't find any words at all to describe it. They were thinking about what that means. And it reminded me of a good teacher, another one of my teachers, who talked about we begin this life uttering sounds that don't quite make up language. And if we are wise, we work our whole lives to figure things out, structure reality, gain language, learn new things. And if we've become wise, we have moments like those first moments. We go back to the language that is beyond words, deeper than words of wow, or just a breath, at the beauty of something. We have to relearn our instincts for wonder. So we make space in our hearts for that, in our homes. We trim the hearth and set the table, as the old hymn says. We make space in our souls for love and the light of stars that shine beyond the frosty weather, bright as sun and moon together. That light isn't just out there somewhere, it's within each of us and all things. And when life feels just too mysterious and you can't name how you still feel beauty and joy and laughter in such a hard and harsh world, it's okay to just say, I don't know, and it's beautiful. Amen. And breathe deep the breath of life. Each day there are 1,000 moments that will break your heart wide open. There are 1,000 moments that will bring you tears and despair and grief. And each day in this world, there are 1,000 moments that will begin to heal your heart up again, to fill the cracks in it with love and compassion and hope. At the same time we mourn a death, we also dedicate babies, and we welcome them into the family of all souls. So when you're unsure, it's okay to say, I don't know, but it's beautiful. Amen.